You're about to spend $40,000, $60,000, maybe $100,000 on a van, and the biggest threat to that investment isn't the engine, it's the parking spot you think still exists. Most buyers research everything wrong. They compare engines, they read forums, they watch tour videos, they obsess over the conversion, and then they buy, hit the road, and discover that the free overnight spot they planned on is closed. The city street they bookmarked now bans vehicle dwelling. The Walmart lot has security patrol. The forest road is gated. This is not a fringe problem. This is happening at scale, across the US, across Europe, simultaneously, and it is accelerating. Here's where it gets worse. Van life didn't get expensive. Free parking disappeared and nobody adjusted their math. Buyers who don't understand this before they purchase are making a $40,000 mistake because a van you can't legally sleep in isn't a van life vehicle. It's a very expensive, very slow car. Smart Buyer Framework. The rules smart buyers follow in 2026 is this: buy the vehicle that fits where you can still legally park, not the vehicle you saw in a YouTube video parked somewhere that no longer allows it. Free parking was the business model. That model is dead. Most buyers are still optimizing for a version of van life that no longer structurally exists. They're building mental models around content filmed 3-4 years ago, making 2026 purchases with 2022 assumptions. Now pay attention to this. The smart buyer asks 3 questions before they ever look at a single vehicle. 1. Where am I actually going to sleep, legally, 300 nights a year? 2. Does the vehicle I'm considering give me an advantage or a disadvantage in those locations? 3. If the rules tighten again, and they will, is this vehicle adaptable or am I locked in? Everything in this video flows from those 3 questions. We're covering which specific vehicles win on those criteria, which ones quietly fail, real used prices in both the US and European markets right now, and the one purchase mistake costing first-year van lifers between $10,000 and $20,000. And in a few minutes, I'll show you the one vehicle category quietly outperforming everything else in 2026, and most buyers aren't even looking at it. The collapse. Let's be precise about what's actually happening, because the details matter before we get to vehicles. In the United States, the mechanism is anti-camping ordinances and vehicle dwelling bans. These laws aren't new. Cities have had them for decades. What changed is enforcement. Los Angeles, San Diego, Seattle, Denver, Austin, all of them have significantly increased enforcement in many areas over the last 18 to 24 months. And this is the part nobody tells you. Walmart, once the backbone of North American van life, has restricted overnight parking at a majority of its locations, and that number has been rising quickly since 2021. A resource that entire communities of van lifers built their routines around is quietly, systematically disappearing. In Europe, the structure is different, the direction is identical. Many municipalities in France are installing bollards at traditional airs. Several coastal regions in Spain are banning motor caravans within 500 meters of the shoreline. Portugal, van life capital of Europe 3 years ago, has begun actively enforcing restrictions that existed for decades but were never touched. Germany's Stellplatz system remains one of the most stable in Europe, but even there, some urban areas are tightening. Here's the brutal truth. In 2026, the biggest cost in van life isn't your van, it's where you're allowed to exist. And the buyers who understand that before they purchase make completely different vehicle decisions than the buyers who don't. Smart buyers in 2026 are adjusting in 2 specific directions. First, stealth. A vehicle that looks like a work van draws less attention than most alternatives. This is not aesthetic preference, this is access. Second, campground-ready capability. Because the collapse of free parking is redirecting van lifers toward paid campgrounds, RV parks, and stellplatzes, the smart move is a vehicle that works well on shore power hookups. 30 amp or 50 amp in the US, standard motor caravan connectors in Europe. Now let's get into the vehicles. Vehicle 1, Mercedes Sprinter 2500, 144-inch wheelbase, 2019 to 2022. This is still the benchmark. Here's exactly why. A vehicle that looks like a work van draws less attention than most alternatives in city environments, and it has the most mature, most documented conversion ecosystem of any van platform on the market, which directly affects resale value when you eventually sell. Real used prices right now. A 2019 to 2022 Sprinter 2500 in the US, cargo configuration, 60,000 to 100,000 miles, $28,000 to $42,000 depending on condition and drivetrain. A professionally converted example from a reputable coach builder in the same year range starts at $65,000 and runs to $120,000 for full builds. In Europe, the same platform with Euro 6 compliance, and I'll explain why that matters in a moment, trades between 25,000 and 55,000 euros used. Maintenance reality. The 3-liter V6 diesel is a strong engine, but it has specific failure points buyers consistently underestimate. The DEF system, AdBlue, is a known problem. DEF heater failure, $800 to $1,500. EGR cooler replacement, $1,200 to $2,500 in labor-intensive markets. And here's where buyers get trapped. Conversion gap. Buyers who purchase a bare cargo Sprinter and underestimate what a livable build actually costs are the most common cautionary tale in this entire category. A functional conversion, insulation, electrical, bed platform, ventilation, water system, runs $15,000 to $25,000 even with significant DIY work. A professional conversion starts at $30,000. Buyers who budget $8,000 do not finish their builds. Who should not buy it? Anyone without a serious conversion budget on top of the platform price, and any European buyer who hasn't verified Euro 6 compliance. A non-compliant Sprinter cannot enter Paris, Brussels, Berlin's inner ring, or an increasing number of Spanish city centers. That's not a minor inconvenience. That's a fundamental route restriction. The Sprinter in one line. Great platform, expensive mistakes if you miscalculate the build. Vehicle 2, Ford Transit 350 High Roof Extended, 2019 to 2023. This is the most affordable entry point into professional-grade stealth conversion in the US market. Ford's dealer network is larger than Mercedes. That matters when you're 200 miles from the nearest city and something needs fixing. Real used prices. US Market Transit 350 High Roof Extended, 2019 to 2022, $24,000 to $38,000. European Transit Custom sits between 18,000 and 32,000 euros. Now pay attention to this number. The Transit's interior width is narrower than the Sprinter by approximately 2 inches. That sounds trivial. In a full-time living build, it means a standard width mattress runs parallel to the vehicle, which eliminates rear door access and rewires the entire floor plan logic. Unless you install body flares, which adds cost and complexity most buyers didn't price in. Buyers who discover this post-purchase frequently redo significant portions of their builds. That's $3,000 to $8,000 in rework on a decision that should never have happened. Engine note for US buyers. The 3.5-liter EcoBoost V6 is petrol. For full-time van lifers doing 30,000 to 40,000 miles annually, the fuel economics don't work. Diesel Transit 350 variants exist in the US, but weren't offered until 2022, and used inventory is still thin. Who should not buy it? High-mileage US buyers on patrol, and European buyers heading into LEZ-heavy corridors without verified Euro 6 compliance. The Transit in one line. Cheaper up front, more expensive if you design it wrong. Vehicle 3, VW California T6.1. 2019 to 2024. Here's the part that most buyers outside Europe don't fully understand. The California is the only factory-built campervan on this list, not a conversion, a production vehicle designed and manufactured as a camper from the ground up. And that single fact gives it a legal classification advantage that no Sprinter conversion can replicate. In Germany, a registered Reisemobil often has different parking rights than a transporter, at French airs, at German Stellplätze, at Spanish designated motorhome areas, the California often has access advantages due to its classification that a panel van conversion does not. This is not a small distinction. When free parking is closing and designated areas are your fallback, vehicle classification becomes a purchasing decision. Real used prices. T6.1 California Ocean, top spec, retails new at 65,000 to 80,000 euros. Used 2019 to 2022 examples trade between 42,000 and 60,000 euros. And here's what makes this vehicle unusual. Resale retention is exceptional. Depreciation curves that would embarrass most converted sprinters. The 2.0-liter TDI across the T6 and T6.1 range is one of the most proven diesel platforms in European automotive history. DSG gearbox service at 40,000-kilometer intervals is non-negotiable. Skip it, and you're looking at a $4,000 to $7,000 gearbox repair. Biggest hidden cost, size expectation mismatch. The California is 4.9 meters long, under 2 meters wide. It is not a full-time residency vehicle for two adults who want serious storage, a dedicated workspace, and a fixed bed. Buyers who purchase it expecting Sprinter-level livability are consistently, predictably disappointed by month 3. Who should not buy it? U.S. buyers. Import compliance complexity eliminates its core advantages, and anyone planning genuine full-time residency 12 months a year. The California in one line, legal advantage in designated areas, real lifestyle limitation for full-timers. Vehicle 4, Leisure Travel Van, Wonder, 2019 to 2023, USA. And here's the vehicle category quietly outperforming everything else in the North American market right now, and most buyers aren't even considering it. Factory-built Class B motorhomes on professional coach-built platforms. The LTV Wonder builds on the Mercedes Sprinter platform, uses a professional interior, and carries RVIA certification. That matters for 3 specific things: financing rates, insurance classification, and campground acceptance. RVIA-certified vehicles are more easily accepted by many campgrounds and insurers than DIY conversions. And in a world where free overnight parking is shrinking, paid campground access is increasingly the fallback position. Real used prices. 2019 to 2022 LTV Wonder trades between 85,000 and 115,000 US dollars. That is significant money. But buyers who compare it to a $35,000 Sprinter platform plus a $45,000 professional conversion understand why the math is closer than it looks and why they're getting a certified, warranted, campground-accepted vehicle instead of a build project. Now here's where buyers get hurt. Used Class B motorhomes that have been used for full-time living depreciate faster than part-time use examples, and the difference isn't always disclosed. Full-time use is detectable through wear patterns on high-use components, slide mechanisms, water system fittings, 12-volt connections, upholstery compression. A qualified RV inspector can often identify major hidden issues quickly. Cost of that inspection? $350 to $500. Amount it has saved buyers in undisclosed damage? $10,000 to $20,000, repeatedly. Skipping it is not frugal. It is the most expensive decision you can make. Who should not buy it? Anyone who specifically needs the stealth access of an unconverted cargo van. The LTV Wonder reads as a motorhome. It will not park where a plain Sprinter would. The LTV Wonder in one line? Expensive to buy, built to avoid the expensive mistakes. Expert buying tips. Mileage. On diesel platforms, Sprinter, Transit diesel, TDI engines, don't let high mileage intimidate you. A well-maintained diesel Sprinter at 150,000 miles is a better purchase than a neglected example at 60,000 miles. Service history is the metric. Demand it. Verify it independently. Engine types to avoid? In the U.S. market, avoid the pre-2018 2.1-liter 4-cylinder diesel Sprinter for high-altitude driving. Power delivery is inadequate, and DPF regeneration in urban low-speed conditions creates chronic problems. In Europe, avoid any non-Euro 6 vehicle if your travel plan includes major city centers. Best years right now? 2019 to 2022 across most platforms. Post-pandemic pricing on 2023 models hasn't fully corrected. 2019 to 2021 used examples represent the strongest value-to-reliability ratio in this market at this moment. Year 1 maintenance budget, regardless of condition, DPF cleaning or replacement, $800 to $2,000. Turbocharger on a neglected TDI, $1,500 to $3,500. Sliding door mechanism on a high-use conversion, $400 to $900. Set aside $3,000 to $5,000 minimum, non-negotiable. Buyer mistake warning. Here is the mistake costing buyers $10,000 to $20,000 right now, repeatedly, in both markets. Purchasing without verifying location compliance before committing. Not emissions compliance, not mechanical compliance, location compliance. They buy in California without knowing their target county actively enforces vehicle dwelling ordinances. They invest in a full stealth conversion and then move to a city where overnight vehicle dwelling is banned, regardless of what the van looks like. They plan an entire Portugal coastal route around an airs network that is now bollarded shut. And here's what makes this so costly. The information to prevent every single one of these situations is publicly available. 30 minutes of research, not forums, not van life Reddit, actual municipal ordinance text tells you whether your specific plan works before you spend $1. The buyers who skip this step discover the answer afterwards. That's the moment people realize they didn't buy freedom, they bought a monthly bill they didn't plan for. The van isn't expensive, your assumptions are. Here's the truth about 2026. The van you buy isn't about freedom, it's about access. And if your van can't access legal places to sleep, you didn't buy a home, you bought a problem. Smart buyers understand that overnight parking is a finite resource that is actively shrinking. They buy vehicles that give them access others are losing. They verify before they spend. They treat this like the $60,000 financial decision it is, not a lifestyle impulse. The buyers who figure this out before they purchase keep their money. The ones who figure it out after fund someone else's mistake. Buy the platform, not the fantasy, because in 2026, fantasy doesn't park anywhere.